All right, so Carlos, you were on our air last night right after the announcement. You believe that these tariffs, they may be short-lived, maybe that they go away in the second half of the year, and that this is really all the beginning of a negotiation. I have to ask you, where are you getting that from? I don't think I heard the president say the word negotiation yesterday. Where are you getting this idea from?
Yeah, so there are four groups of tariffs, and not all these tariffs are the same. The ones that are so-called reciprocal, the countries that are misbehaving, those are the ones that I would see coming off over the next couple months. That will be country by country negotiations. Israel and Japan, Israel and Vietnam have already lowered their tariffs. So those are two deals that have already been made that haven't been announced, but those are two victories that the president has. And each country will be different, but country by country, I think we're going to see that little by little coming off. The ones that will take a little bit longer are, China. I wouldn't put that in the group of reciprocals. China's in a group on its own. And I think that could take a little longer. The 10% is an interesting one because that can also take longer. And what we need to watch is whether the president will leave that on, a way of just leaving those 10% permanent or 5% or 7%, whatever, over the long term. And that could be kind of a legacy that he cements for tariffs. We don't know, but we have to see that. But the ones that I think are shorter term are these so-called reciprocals, the country by country negotiations.
Okay, so that's just you having some insight from your past experience. But I think it's fair to say the president didn't indicate that it was going to be short term. In fact, he said it was president, and they kind of indicated that there won't be a lot of negotiations. I want to go to China. I know you just recently came back from China. A 54% effective tariff on China. Do you believe, as some people are speculating, that there's some back room or back channels working right now? Do you believe that maybe there's already a deal in place to reduce this, and this is a lot of bluster, but then in the coming days or weeks, maybe there's going to be a deal?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would have thought that there was more of that going on, more back channels. But in my recent trip, I didn't sense that. I sensed that there was a lot of frustration and confusion. Part of the problem is, who can they speak with? They've had a good relationship with Secretary Bessent, but they don't know who to speak with beyond Secretary Bessent. Mm-hmm. So who is it in the Treasury Department? The Undersecretary of International, is that job hasn't been filled. So things are at a bit of a standstill with China. I continue to believe that the end game here is going to be a big deal, perhaps beyond trade. It could include Chinese investment in the U.S. It could include potentially some geopolitical issues.
But Carlos, we're not going that direction now. China just announced countermeasures. I know. We're trending decidedly away from any resolution that way with the countermeasures.
Yeah, I know. And look, what we're seeing also in public is negotiations in public. And, sometimes you want to throw off the person with whom you're negotiating. So there could be a bluff, a tactic here and there. And that throws off everyone, not just the other side. So there's a little bit of that, and we have to be careful. But looking at this, strategically, I do believe that the president wants to strike a bigger deal with China. Okay. The first term, a lot of the fighting with China didn't really lead to a lot of change.
Okay. Can I ask you to put your CEO hat on? You were formerly the CEO of Kellogg. The president didn't really seem to have an appetite for a lot of diplomacy or deal making, at least not yesterday. Maybe behind closed doors he does. But you were formerly a CEO. Looking at this as a CEO, how do you make business decisions going forward with a lot of uncertainty? I mean, last night you said companies have to do a 10-year cost benefit analysis to see if they want to build in the U.S. How do you do that not knowing if this policy could change in 2 years, maybe 4 years? You just don't know.
Yeah, those are the 10%. If those stay on, let's just say that the policy is 10% tariffs forever. It'll be permanent. Then at least you have something that you can evaluate. You can do a net present value analysis, but that's only for those 10%. I would be looking at, in each individual case, how permanent are these? How long lasting? Certain raw materials, certain ingredients. And if it feels like it could be longer lasting, then you have to do something about prices. If a company decides that they're not going to take up prices because of this, it could be because they don't feel it's going to be around for a long time, or they don't believe they have that kind of flexibility. Then, it's a different story. If you have low margins, that can impact things. You may have to issue debt just to get through, the next 6 to 8 weeks. So there'll
Okay.
be a lot of disruption. And I think the big decision is raise prices or not raise prices. We also have to be very careful with these supply chains. I mean, when I hear we're going to bring these supply chains home, these are supply chains that have been developed over years and decades. Apple
Okay.
and China, these are, multiple countries, hundreds of suppliers that congregate in China. You can't replicate that overnight. The same thing in autos.